Hello everyone, my name is Madelinne Verdin.
And my name is Marcillino AbdelmalaK.
We are both members of the UC Merced Care Office Prevention Team, and today we're going to be presenting on domestic violence during crisis.
The PowerPoint may contain potential distress material. If at any point you need to step away, please feel free to do so.
In order for us to understand what domestic violence looks like in times of crisis, it's important for us to know what exactly domestic violence is. Domestic violence is defined as a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship.
There are many ways that abusers maintain power and control over their victim, but we want to highlight three that are seen often. The first one is physical abuse. Physical abuse includes hitting, slapping, punching, and kicking. But physical abuse may also include damaging of personal property or the use of weapon. Another form of violence and that abusers use to maintain power and control over their partner is emotional abuse. Some examples of emotional abuse are calling names and using intimidating as fear tactic and isolating their partner from loved ones. Lastly, we have economical abuse. Economical abuse may include preventing a partner from working and controlling all their finance and preventing the victim from having any mean to escape an abusive situation.
There are many warning signs of domestic violence, but we want to address a few. Extreme possessiveness, isolating a partner from loved ones, having a hot temper, and being very controlling are all behaviors associated with domestic violence.
Now that we know what domestic violence is, we can see how it impacts by COVID-19. Social distancing and remote working are essential in reducing the spread of COVID-19 as we must complete. However, COVID-19 has brought new stressors into home and experiencing domestic violence like financial strains. These stressors put survivors at a higher risk for abuse. Fear of a national health crisis and social distancing can be used as a tool to exert power and control over the survivors.
Here are some ways COVID-19 impacts domestic violence. During the pandemic, abusers may withhold necessary items from their partners, like hand sanitizer or disinfectants. Abusers may also share misinformation to control and frighten survivors. Perpetrators may prevent survivors from seeking needed medical attention during this pandemic as well. A survivor may be ill and need treatment from a doctor, but their partner may not allow them to leave the home. If they do, the abuser may threaten they are not allowed to come back. In addition, survivors may fear going to emergency shelters for fear of contracting the virus. Many domestic violence shelters aren't accepting new survivors because they want to protect those there and prevent the spread of COVID-19. But this means that survivors are losing access to emergency resources needed to escape abusive situations. Travel restrictions can also impact a survivor's escape or safety plan. The stay-at-home guidelines may prevent survivors from being able to escape harmful situations as well. Lastly, abusers may feel justified using isolation tactics. Because we are being told by the government officials to quarantine in isolation, abusers may feel justified in isolating their partner from their family and friends even more than normal.
Next, we have some tips from the National Domestic Violence Hotline on how to make these uncertain times feel safer. The first is to create a safe plan. A safe plan is a personalized, practical, and includes ways to remain safe while in a relationship, planning to leave, or after you have left. Some examples of the safe plan we have are staying with friends or family or staying in a motel. However, because of quarantine or isolation, this might not be the most plausible option. In extreme cases, abusers may have isolated their partners from their loved ones for so long that they may feel as they have no longer anyone to turn in. In such cases, the hotline suggests that sleeping in your car is also an option to escape an abusive situation. If a survivor chooses to leave an abusive situation under the COVID-19, it is extremely important to be remaining mindful of a hygiene practice and to remain safe and healthy. Practicing self-care and taking time for yourself during the extreme times are important. Some examples of self-care during quarantine are knitting, stretching, meditating, reading, or drawing. Really, anything to give up your mind and body the break that you might need from these stressful times. Also, try to reaching out and maintaining social contacting with your loved ones is also a critical under COVID-19. Call, text, video call, anything to connect with those who are caring about you while being safe. But we also want to stress that resources are still available to help those who are experiencing domestic violence under COVID-19.
There are both confidential and reporting resources still available to those in harmful situations under COVID-19. Confidential resources are those where everything that you choose to share will remain private. Some of these include the Campus Advocate Lena, CAPS, otherwise known as Counseling and Psychological Services, the Valley Crisis Center 24-hour hotline, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Reporting resources are those where legal action is taken place. Some reporting resources that are available if you are experiencing domestic violence and you are still on campus are the UC Merced Police Department and the Office of Prevention, Harassment, and Discrimination, also known as Title IX.
These are ways, actions survivors can take to reduce stress at home during COVID-19. Staying connected and maintaining social distances network is a key during this time. We may be in isolation, but we're not alone. Make sure you're healthy is our number one priority. You can do this by keeping normal sleeping patterns, eating nutritional meals, and reducing the use of alcohol, smoking, and drugs. Another way to reduce stress by taking breaks to yourself. It's okay to step away and take some time to relax. And lastly, minimizing the use of media. Viewing can help decreasing the stress during this time. All of the media coverage on our current circumstances can be overwhelming, so minimize how often you read or watch the news. May be beneficial for your mental health and decrease stress.
If someone you know has experienced domestic violence, there are several ways that you can help. First, listen in an empathetic manner and believe them. Too often, survivors are not believed, which is a reason they don't speak out about their stories. So if they choose to trust you, always believe them. You can help survivors by referring them to the campus resources that we've discussed. You can also support them by protecting their privacy and not sharing their story. If a survivor shares their story with you, they are being vulnerable with only you. So remember to respect their privacy and keep what they share with you to yourself. Also, let them know that it isn't their fault. No one asks to be harmed or abused. No matter the circumstances, it is never a survivor's fault, and it is incredibly important to remind them of that. Lastly, seek support from the resources we went over for yourself if needed. If a survivor chooses to share their story with you, it may be a lot to take in. So if you would like to speak to someone about how you're feeling, please reach out to any of the confidential resources that we've gone over.
There are many things we can do to be allies for domestic violence survivors. The first thing is to speak out. As an ally, we can hold perpetrators accountable for their actions to harm others and speak out against their actions. Let them know what they're doing is not okay and they must change their behavior. You can also challenge the victim blaming statement and jokes about abusive relationships. If you hear a statement or a joke surrounding abuse, please challenge them and explain they are not okay. You can also stay mindful of the things we say by staying away from phrases that encourages abusive culture. It's very easy to watch and control what we say, as we should always remember to be mindful of our words. We can also we can do this by attending educational programs and training to learn about domestic violence during COVID-19. You can attend Zooming webinars held by the care office and keep yourself educated. And lastly, you can volunteer. You can reach out to the care office via social media or by email for ways you can get involved. You can also encourage with our social media posts and actively participate in our social media online programs.
If you see or hear something that looks like your intervention could help, use the 3 Ds to determine the safest way to do so. The first D is direct, where you directly approach the situation. An example of this may be directly walking up to a couple who is arguing loudly and asking if everything is okay. The second D is distract. If you don't feel comfortable enough to directly approach a situation, you can use the distract method to diffuse the situation and bring attention to something else. An example of this method could be the same couple yelling down the hallway, and instead of asking if they're okay, you say, "Hey y'all, there's a free food event going on outside. You should come and check it out." Lastly, the third D is delegate. This is where you seek assistance from others to help with the situation, such as friends or an authority figure. An example of delegating could be that same couple arguing in a dorm loudly. You hear loud noises like things being thrown. You want to help but don't want to compromise your safety. In this case, you could delegate by getting your RA to make sure that everything is okay.
Now let us see how we can use the 3Ds during situations that may occur during COVID-19. Warning: the following scenarios contain geographics that are potential distressing.
Scenario number 1. You leave your home to buy groceries. As you're walking out of the store, you see a man yelling in frustration at their elderly mother. As an active bystander, you can directly approach the situation if you feel safe enough to do so. You can walk up to the individuals while wearing a mask for your protection and abiding by social distancing guidelines, and ask if everything is okay.
Scenario 2. You go on Instagram and see that a famous YouTuber who's a makeup artist posts this photo with the spare time they have during quarantine. As an active viewer, you can report social media posts because it glamorizes domestic violence. You can also comment on the post explaining how the image may be a triggering for survivors.
Scenario number 3. You're on social media and your friend sends you a meme about how hard it is to work from home during COVID-19. As an active viewer, you can directly let your friend know that this image is harmful and not funny. As a means to make people laugh, the image portrays child abuse, which is never okay. If you don't feel comfortable enough to directly approach the situation, you could also report the post and do your part to get it taken down from social media.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more context. Follow us on all social media platforms. Wash your hands, stay home, stay safe. Goodbye, y'all.